Hey everybody, this is Dan. Today we're going to look at Paul Morphy's legendary Opera House game. If you are interested in chess history, I will include a link in the comments below, or in the description below, that you can click on and read more about this game. But in the interest of just jumping right in and talking chess, let us see what Paul Morphy was able to do and why this game is so famous. So Morphy starts out with e4, black continues with e5, so we have just a regular king-pawn opening, an open game. Morphy continues knight f3, pressuring the e5 pawn, and black defends the pawn with d6. This is the Philidor defense. It's perfectly playable for black, and Morphy correctly continues by pressuring black's center with d4. So the move that is now played in the game is a mistake. The better way to go here would be to take the pawn, white would take back, black might continue with something like knight f6, white might play knight c3. This sort of thing would have been preferable to the continuation in the game. In the game, black played bishop g4, and this creates some issues for black that start with white capturing with pawn takes pawn. It's important to note here that if black just takes the pawn back right away, it opens up queen takes queen, forcing king takes queen, and now black has lost the ability to castle, and this pawn on e5 is going to drop. So some issues arise if black takes back right away. So in the game, black first takes the knight with the bishop. Now that bishop is attacking the queen, so white is compelled to recapture. So queen takes bishop, and now only then does black take the pawn, since the white queen has been sort of relocated over to f3. So this is fine for white because white just continues by developing a piece with bishop c4, and not only developing a piece, but developing a piece with the threat of checkmate. Queen f7 checkmate is threatened by the move bishop c4. So black is forced to address this threat, and does so with knight f6, placing the knight between the queen and the checkmating square f7. So Morphy just sort of reevaluates the position and decides to transfer the queen over to b3, which renews the attack on f7. Now the bishop would be able to take there, and also hits the vulnerable pawn on b7 as well. So a couple things are accomplished by that move. Black plays queen e7, defending that weak pawn on f7. Interesting to note here that if Morphy takes the pawn on b7, black is actually able to play queen b4 check, checking the king and also hitting this queen, forcing white to play a queen trade with queen takes queen, bishop takes queen, and then we transfer into a simplified game where it's going to take white a little bit longer to prove the advantage despite being up a pawn. So Morphy does not go in for that. Morphy wants to be more aggressive than that, so Morphy plays knight c3, developing a new piece and just continuing to build pressure. Alright, black plays c6. Kind of looks like it makes sense. The knight is prevented from advancing to b5 or d5, as is the bishop. But Morphy, again, just calmly continues development. Bishop g5 attacks the knight on f6 and also pins it. This knight is not able to move without the bishop capturing black's queen. So after creating that pin, Morphy has another piece in play, and black just continues with b5, kind of continuing the plan of pushing c6 by pushing the b pawn to b5. Seemingly, this bishop has to retreat. But Morphy, again, with his aggressive play and throughout this game, correct play, plays knight takes pawn, proving that it's perfectly acceptable and often advantageous to sacrifice material if it can help you maintain the initiative and create an attack on the king. So after pawn takes knight, Morphy plays bishop takes pawn check. So you can see how white is really pushing the initiative. White is the one who's forcing the action here. Black is in check. If the queen blocks, that doesn't work, obviously, because the bishop will take. If this knight blocks here, the bishop on g5 will take the queen. So black kind of has to play this other knight out to d7. at which point Morphy decides to castle, and simultaneously the rook comes to the center and adds pressure to that pinned knight on d7. The bishop is pinning the knight, the rook adds a second attacker, and what looks like one of the defenders of that knight, this other knight on f6, again, that knight is pinned by the bishop, so all kinds of issues for black. Black goes about creating a defense with rook d8, but again, black's position is pretty cramped, and some issues are still just around the corner here. So Morphy continues with his sacrificial approach to the game. If Morphy just goes and plays bishop takes knight, and then black plays rook takes bishop, that really relieves the pressure, and white is up a little bit, but it's not going to be such an easy win. The correct way to go, and the move Morphy made, is to play the rook up to take that knight, because when the rook takes back, and it's important to know that the rook has to take back, queen takes back, the queen gets taken by the bishop, knight takes back, and the other bishop on g5 takes the queen. That knight is still pinned. So it's necessary to take with the rook, but now that puts that rook in a pin. Alright, so Morphy exploits that pin by playing rook d1, adding another attacker to that pinned rook. Black plays queen e6, kind of desperately trying to get this knight out of a pin so it can defend the rook. But it's too late. At this point, it's just everything is sort of over for black. Morphy plays bishop takes on d7 check. If the queen takes, the queen is lost. If the if the knight takes, we'll see what happens. And obviously, if black doesn't take the bishop at all, it's not going to go well. So according to the engine here, I see that the most playable move here is queen takes, but obviously not a desirable thing to just drop your queen. So the move that's played and that looks logical was knight takes on d7, but this creates a very, very pretty and very, very famous checkmate in 2 puzzle. So at this point in the game, I recommend you pause the video, see if you can spot the mate in 2 for white, and unpause once you think you have the solution, or if you just want to see how Morphy was able to close this one. So I'll stop here for 2 seconds, give you a chance to pause. Alright, so the continuation here is queen b8 check. The only response to this move is knight takes queen, which allows rook to d8 checkmate, and Morphy wins with just a rook and a bishop and some pawns. So a lot of principles illustrated in this really famous and really instructive game. First of all, the idea that sacrificing material in order to create an attack is okay. You obviously want to be super careful with that and not just give away pieces for nothing. But I think the big ideas here are development, really developing your pieces, bringing them out to stronger squares, and initiative, just really being the one who kind of controls the action with forcing moves like threats and checks and the like. And then just really coordinating pieces. I mean, more if this is a master class in developing your pieces, forcing the initiative, coordinating your pieces, not wasting any time, not giving the other player any time to sort of breathe and create a defense that's going to work. Morphy it's a brilliant piece of attacking chess, and it's famous for a reason. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm really happy to be back making videos, and please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. I'm happy to help or happy to answer anything, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you very much.